What's up, everybody? Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill. Welcome back to another one of my EverQuest 2 tutorial guides, and today we're going to be talking about an often forgotten component of EverQuest 2, and that's heroic opportunities. Now, back in the day, heroic opportunities used to be a big deal, and if you ever played this game when it first launched, then there were certain boss encounters where you pretty much had to do heroic opportunities to be able to get past those encounters. But these days, they're not really used so much on the live game as they are on the progression servers. And because we play a lot of EverQuest 2, with our gaming community. Links to our Discord are down below. We actually have had some requests for me to come out and make a heroic opportunity video as part of the EverQuest 2 tutorial series, so here we are today. Now, if you've ever played this game, or even if you never have, every class, every archetype, as you would, being the fighter, the priest, the mage, and the scout, you all get abilities, right? Your normal combat abilities or spells. But at level 5, every single archetype gets a heroic opportunity starter ability. What that allows you to do is trigger a heroic opportunity. Now, heroic opportunities are unique effects that can be triggered by group members using spell arts and combat arts. And these effects are different than the abilities you have on your hotbar, and they are more powerful and more complex depending upon the amount of archetypes you have in your group. Keep in mind that there are only four: the fighter, the priest, the mage, and the scout. So everyone can do these on your own. So regardless of your class or your archetype, when you're level 5, you get a heroic opportunity starter, and you can then trigger a heroic opportunity. You will then be allowed to do one of those by yourself. But you have two people in the group, you can do a heroic opportunity that's slightly more complex. You get three people in the group, you can do one that's even more complex. And if you get four people who are all of different archetypes, then you can do some truly unique and creative things with heroic opportunities. Now, the way heroic opportunities work is you have the starter ability, which you use to trigger the heroic opportunity, or what's also called the starter chain, which then converts from the starter ability icon over to the what they call the starter chain. And you'll then see a center icon surrounded by four different icons which represent the archetypes, the chalice being the priest, or a heal, I should say, the sword being a combat art, the sort of hammer looking one is for spells, and for mages and stuff, and the green one being the thief character, or the scout archetypes. Once somebody uses an ability that corresponds with those icons, it then converts from the starter chain to the finishing chain, and now you get a wheel with a countdown meter on the outside, which is this blue bar that is slowly depleting in a clockwise motion. And you'll see a series of icons around that wheel. Now, this is where it's important because the wheel is going to determine how you do that. Certain wheels will have an actual arrow in a clockwise motion, which means that you have to do those abilities in that specific order in order to be able to complete the heroic opportunity. But if it's got just a bunch of arrows in different directions like this, that means that anybody can do their abilities in any order in order to complete the finishing chain. Um, the names for these starting abilities depend on your archetype. So it's called a Lucky Break for scouts. It's called a Fighting Chance for the fighters. It's called an Arcane Augur for mages, and Divine Providence for the priest archetypes. It's worth pointing out here that starter abilities don't cost any power to use, and they are an instant cast with a 10-second recast. It's also worth noting that you can only trigger a heroic opportunity if you are actively in combat. So if your group is in combat, but you haven't yet entered into a combat state, you won't be able to trigger a heroic opportunity. This is also the part of the video where I get to say, hey, hopefully you're enjoying the content, and if you are, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get updates like this in the future. Don't forget you can support me as a content creator by doing a super thanks on this video. You can also join all of our live streams, stream every single day, and you can do super chats and stickers on those videos. You can also join as a member of the Adventurers Guild, which is that icon down there. And there's also a Patreon page for our world of Weave in the Void, where we're building a point-and-click adventure game like King's Quest. It's also a 5th edition tabletop setting, so if you like tabletop games, the source book and the first adventure module for the campaign, levels 1 to 4, is already out for sale today, and there's also a book series, kind of like Dragonlance, that's being published. So hopefully you check that out, patreon.com/Wandering Herberts. But let's get to the rest of the video so that you guys can learn more about EverQuest 2 and how to better use those heroic opportunities for your group. Now, what's very interesting here is that bards, dirges and troubadours in particular, can take the bard's achievement street star called Bard's Luck, which reduces the recast time of Lucky Break down by 5 seconds. And the minstrel intelligence line has an ending ability called Heroic Storytelling, which increases the power of opportunities up to 150%. Now, where things get crazy is because there are a ton of abilities, a ton of heroic opportunity outcomes, we should say, and those vary wildly. There's going to be a list that I'm going to put down in the description text below, which is part of the eqd.fandom.com wiki on heroic opportunities. And the list might not be completely accurate because it might be a little bit out of date, but basically it lists all of the trigger archetypes and the corresponding symbols, along with the type of opportunity they are, and then the potential outcome and what those outcomes are. And there are a lot of different outcomes. Now, here's the fun thing: scouts can actually shift a heroic opportunity to another type by using the coin symbol spell or a combat orc that has that corresponding green coin. This will then re-roll the triggered effect from the starting chain and restart the finishing chain. So if your group triggers a heroic opportunity and it's not the one you want and you have a scout in your group, they can re-roll and it'll restart the finishing chain, which allows you the chance to have a new option pop up. That way you can choose as you would, but it can only be shifted prior to any symbols having been entered into the sequence. So if someone has accidentally hit, the heal icon and they've cast a heal and that's part of the finishing chain, you won't be able to actually change it. What's also worth noting, I should say, about these is that the potency of the effects scale based on the group member's potency, which takes into effect their level, attributes, and other statistics, so on and so forth. Um, and there's dozens. There are dozens of heroic opportunities to take advantage of. Now, of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, heroic opportunities are one of those things that, unfortunately, for various reasons, they've kind of fallen out of favor because the live game, the way it is played today, is so fast paced and everyone is so overpowered with alternate advancement points that you're pretty much guaranteed that you can just wade through the mobs and face roll the keyboard and not have to worry about these. But if you're playing on one of the TLE servers, I think time locked expansions, one of these progression servers, as an example, we had Eridune a few years, or excuse me, not Eridune. I forgot what the one was a few years ago. Caladum. Caladum was the one from a few years ago, and Varsoon was the one that just launched here in June of 2022, or May. Sorry, yeah, May of 2022. I started playing in June of 2022. That's why I'm confused. So the one that started in May of 2022, Varsoon, if you're on the TLE server, the progression server, you don't have all the alternate advancement points. You don't have all the things that Live has, so the characters aren't face rolling through the combat. And combat encounters are very challenging. Still not quite as challenging as they were at the launch of the game, but they still are challenging enough that these heroic opportunities can come in handy if your group wants to be able to have a little bit of oomph in at a given combat encounter. And again, there's lots of different things here. You could do straight up direct damage heroic opportunities. Then you get ones that give you power regen. You get other ones that do increased damage or increased focus for a little bit. You get ones that do piercing damage and debuffs to the mob. You can increase the defense of the group. You can increase the total mana of the group. You can get a power heal over time. Get group mitigations, a damage direct and area effect damage. There's a ton of different sets here that you could do. And the nice thing about the article that I'm going to link below, the heroic opportunities section of the wiki, is that it actually shows you the combinations required to get to the various heroic opportunities. So depending on the makeup of your group, again, there's solo heroic opportunities, there's duo heroic opportunities, there's trios and quads. But remember, you need one of a corresponding archetype to be able to use the full aspect of that wheel. So, hopefully, this is something that you've enjoyed. If you did, cool, use them to your advantage, and hopefully, this will help you and your group be able to do a little bit of extra damage and a little bit of extra fun because it does add some flavor to the game. From here, I'd say just keep having adventuring. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all those good things. Drop a super thanks on the video, and hopefully we'll see you in game with us on the Varsude server. Until next time, stay safe, everybody. Have safe. Stay safe. Happy gaming.